Welcome back to Natural Beauty Summit's Hairfest 2021. I'm Salome Sallehy, founder of Sugar Wax, and I love a good love story. Today's guest is a pretty remarkable person who has followed her heart all the way to the Amazon rainforest. Ayers and her partner Fabian fell in love in a salon chair in New York City, and then proceeded to create a company that not only creates clean hair products, but is also working to revive and restore an ancient and almost lost art in the Amazon forest, all while also preserving acres upon acres of this essential life source for the planet. No big deal. She is literally saving the world with her brand Rahua, which is named after a seed that grows in abundance in certain parts of the Amazon, the Rahua seed. Anna and Fabian have done a very rare thing. They've created a business that deeply benefits every single link in the chain, from the communities in the Amazon that are harvesting these seeds to the customers who use them in their hair. Everyone wins. I'm delighted to share our chat with you, so stay tuned for a beautiful story. Hey guys, welcome to Natural Hairfest 2021. I'm super stoked to introduce you guys to Anna Ayers from Rahua hair care line. Now you guys have other products other than hair care in the line as well, right?
Correct. We have some lovely body and skin products. Yes.
Great. And I want to, before I start asking you the questions, Anna, I'm so excited to have you here. The hair has been such a big topic, especially over the course of the last year, with everyone being like locked down in COVID and thinking about, getting your hair treatments and hair care done differently because we haven't had access to salons. But your story actually begins in a salon in New York City.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you met Fabian and basically, like, you've probably told the story a million times, but I would love for you to share the origin story of Rahua, your line. And it starts with the two of you and it ends in the Amazon rainforest. So tell us.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the introduction. And it is really a love story, Rahua, for us. And it did start in a hair salon where I say all the magic happens. And hair is, so important for people. It gives us a lot of confidence and makes us feel good. And so hair is an amazing thing. And our journey did begin in the salon where I met Fabian. Going on 20 years ago. Yeah, so we met I met him and he did my hair, and we were both creative spirits, and we had a lot of common ground as creators. I studied fashion design and came to New York to pursue my career. And there I met Fabian in the hair salon. A good friend of mine told me where I should go to get my hair done, and that's where I met Fabian, and he did a lovely job, of course.
Of course.
My hair.
But you guys were also, what's interesting to me is, like, you're both such passionate environmentalists, and you would never expect this collision to happen in a New York hair salon.
Yeah. Well, it's wild because, Fabian, it was after September 11th that I met him, and he was really looking to do something, I guess, bigger at the time, and doing something to give back. And so he started traveling more to his native country, Ecuador, and started, closing shop and going there, and, eventually made his way to the Amazon, where he saw the people there didn't have basic information about their human rights, their ancestral land rights. So he started bringing information to them, and started doing environmental work just very organically, from his heart, just doing this travel, going, taking clothes, taking, donations, whatever he could do to help. And on these trips, he learned about all of the amazing lifestyle that they have there, and eventually learned about Rahua oil, because I tell him hair follows you. But he one day was walking by one of the huts, their homes. He saw the women there. They have beautiful hair down past their knees. It's just amazing and gorgeous. And they were applying an oil to their hair, and kind of with this handmade comb that they use. They were brushing their hair. And he's a very curious guy. And he asked them, what is this? And they went on to tell him about Rahua, and the many benefits of this Rahua oil, and how even it can help repair the braids inside of the hair. And just they just have this amazing knowledge of plants and hair. And so this intrigued Fabian, and he purchased some Rahua oil from them and brought it back to his salon at the time. And eventually did some trials with some clients, and saw how the hair improved in an amazing way. The oil helps fill in the porosity of the hair, and it builds it up and makes it whole again. It makes it feel stronger. And I remember the first time I was able to use Rahua oil. First, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, oil for the hair. This was back in the day when you're like, oil is going to be too heavy for the hair. But after I used it, I felt my hair bulk up and feel like thicker, like there was more of it to the touch. And then after using it over time, the hair just became complete. My hair had been overcolored a bit at the time, and the hair was just very health rich. It just was whole. So it's powerful, and we continue to see, and he continued to see hair being rejuvenated and restored, and the color balancing out. And so he knew that this was something pretty amazing and pretty powerful.
That's awesome. I mean, you've already sort of started to answer my next question, but what's interesting is that, over the course of the last few hundred years, like really since industrialization, we've lost a lot of biodiversity. And what you guys are doing is like cultivating this and extracting this ingredient, out of the rainforest, where biodiversity is probably at its best in the world. So I'd love to ask you, like, what was the draw? I mean, you kind of touched on it with Fabian, but for you, like, what was the draw to the Amazon,
Mm.
and how did your environmental background kind of tie into that?
Yeah. So after I met Fabian, he shared some photos, and he told me about his adventures into the Amazon. And he shared the photos of his trips, and it's like nothing I had ever seen before, like National Geographic kind of photos. And I was very inspired. And he just kept telling me more about lifestyle there, plants there, the ways of healing the body and the soul, and different things. And I was very inspired, and very interested. And I also, knew that, the people there a lot of times have been taken advantage of, by industrialization, or, business coming in and trying to, take advantage of. And so I think I'm a bit of a justice seeker. So for me, my heart was turned on to do something and to help as well. So then, later on, I eventually was fortunate to be able to travel to the Amazon and, live,
What was
be with
that
a
like?
family. Amazing. I mean, it's like, for me, life changing, absolutely. And you see the world in a completely new way. And
Tell me about that. What is
yeah,
it like?
yeah, nature is first. Nature is first. You rely solely on nature. You need it. And so your, priorities shift. I mean, if you want food, you have to go hunt for it. There's
Yeah.
no refrigerator. There's no supermarket. There's you trek in the jungle and you go gather what you're looking for. If you want to eat meat, you have to hunt for it for maybe a couple of weeks, and it's a big affair and it's a whole new life, and it's beautiful. And there's so much knowledge there that the people have about how to use plants. If you have a stomach ache, or if you have a headache, what you drink, what you prepare. So it's a much kind of simpler way, but it's a lot of work because you have to do the work to get anything that you need. The people there are so happy and so in peace with their families and their day-to-day life, and just really thriving and living in one with nature, and using nature in a way that, if they need to grow something or use something, they use it in a way that it comes back and flourishes even greater. So it's not ever like over using or over harvesting. It's just very much in one balance. And for me, it's so inspiring, and just all of these experiences continue to inspire us in how we will create product and why we create product. So it's very powerful, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously big advocates of, sustainable beauty as well as a brand. And I feel like one of the things that you and I probably have in common is seeking out these like ancient traditions and reviving them. And I love that you know, you're not just creating an amazing product, but your whole cycle is sustainable. Like you're helping preserve the land and the original uses of the land, and that's really cool. My question for you is, what are some of the other things that, outside of, sustainably harvesting this beautiful Rahua oil and using it as, I guess it's the keystone ingredient for your products. What are some of the other sustainable environmental practices that you guys have that you can share? I'd love to just highlight that a little, because I think not when you pick up a product from a store, you don't necessarily know everything that's behind it and what the people behind the brand are doing to make the world better. And you guys are just doing such an incredible thing. I'd love to get some insight.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, we're environmentalists first, so we're always looking for how do we do that? How do we continue to do that? How do we do that better? Look for the best solutions. And the amazing part with Rahua is when we first started, it was just a small group of women that were still making Rahua oil, the elders in the community. And the women make Rahua oil. It's part of the ceremonial process. It was just a small group of women. And the younger generation, they weren't so interested because it's very tedious. It takes a long time. But then, Fabian started purchasing a little bit from, the community, and then, people's kind of perked up their interest, and then, now Fabian, when he goes, he organizes workshops in the middle of the forest, which means, flying a little Cessna plane deep into a community and bringing an expert Rahua maker to train the next generation of Rahua makers on how to make Rahua. And so, through this process, we've helped to revive a tradition that could have been extinct. and it's also it's the culture and this knowledge that there's so much, there's so many different, there's all the medicine that we don't know we're going to need yet for the future lives in the rainforest. And it's I know one of the trips that I took, we had to take a really long trek in the jungle, and we were driving to where there's no more roads pretty much, and it was very rocky, a long trip. And my stomach, I was like, I've got to have something. And they went to a tree and pulled this leaf off of the tree and made me this tea, this whole huge kind of container of tea, and I sipped this the whole way. And amazing, like just calm and easy. But it's just like, the jungle is like the backyard, and you go and you get whatever medicine that you need for the day. And those are the answers that are in the forest. The trick is, and the key is, we have to keep this forest pristine. because that is the way that Rahua will continue to flourish, that all of these plants and medicines of the future will flourish is if it is protected in its pristine virgin state. It's very, very important. And, you know, we're all connected to the rainforest. It's part of how we breathe each day. It's producing the oxygen that we need. So it's essential. It's
That's
essential.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like now consumers are demanding a lot more of this type of practice and product. Like, consumers are being more vocal about, I want non-toxic products. I want clean, natural. I want to be a little bit more at one with nature. And the course of the last year has really brought the health factor to the forefront. So being where we are, why do you think it's so difficult for mass market brands to shift into more natural, sustainable, healthy production?
Mhm.
Whereas like brands like yours or some of these newer, younger, nimble brands that have flourished over the last 10 years are able to incorporate those changes overnight. And actually, it's a foundation of what a lot of indie brands are anchored in is being clean and sustainable and environmentally conscious. Why is it so hard for mass market brands to do that?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy, right? It's a kind of a rewiring of how to do business. So yeah, it's difficult. It can be more expensive for sure, and it's a different business model. So I think it's important to have those pillars built into your business model, so that you can grow, and build on that. It's tricky to add it in later, but of course, all companies, I really believe, need to have it in place, an essential part of preserving, giving back, using clean ingredients, understanding very clearly the life cycle of a product and how to continue to do better. For us, since the beginning, it's been about lifting the standards and really changing the industry. And consumers, we have to do the best because the consumer is everything, and we want to keep lifting the standards and doing the best. And yeah, consumers rock because they're changing the world with their choices.
And I think you're also changing the world with like, it's a pretty bold move to go, all the way into this Amazon, which seems like such foreign territory for us who don't feel like we have a connection to it. And, to go deep in it and be able to, find some treasures that the rest of the world can not only benefit from, but they can then in turn help with the sustainability of that whole environment, which is so important for our whole planet. Let's talk about your $175 elixir.
Okay.
Because as a consumer, it's quite the outlier on like your range of products. But I mean, I believe I understand the justification behind it because it's the pure oil. But can you talk about like in terms of results, right? Like what can one expect to get from that versus the rest of the line? Or how does it play into there? Because I think another thing I'd like to touch on for this community is, as we shift from these mass market brands like shampoo, conditioner, maybe there's a mask, maybe there's some styling products like gel, mousse, whatever, spray. And as we try to shift to more like natural products, what are some of the expectations? What are some of the things that we can expect to have to do differently? And then if you can speak to the elixir and how it fits in the line and how you
Absolutely.
use it, it would The
Oh, the
elixir.
elixir.
The
It's the heart. I mean, the Rahua elixir is pure handmade symbiotic Rahua oil. It grows in the wild, in the rainforest, in the middle of the jungle. It's processed through ancestral techniques that have been happening for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. And it is the most potent oil that I've ever experienced. And it's beautiful. I mean, when you smell it, you are smelling the jungle. Like, it is the rainforest, it's the heart, it's the blood. It's pure wisdom for me in a bottle. It's beautiful. And each drop is sacred, and each drop will help to restore the hair like nothing else. So the biggest difference, it's not silicone. It has nothing, it's not watered down with anything. It's the pure, the most pure. It's very pure. It's 100% Rahua. So when you're using this product, you're going to use a drop, maybe two at a time. You know, this bottle, if used correctly, it can last you, up to 6 months. You don't use a lot of this product. So it's a treatment. It's a deep treatment. And how the ladies use it in the rainforest, they use like 1-2 drops. They warm it up in their palms. You know, the heat is that activator. It's really important to do this. And then you're going to massage. You massage the oil. You just really work it into the ends. And it is just this amazing treatment. And the more you keep working it into the hair, it fills in that porosity, and it just keeps treating the hair. So it's a rock star. It's amazing.
And then I know, having listened to you talk about this process before, the whole custom, I think, when we talk about like ancestral tradition,
Mhm.
maybe we think of like, some, I don't want to say, like something that's unfamiliar, like some ritual that might not make sense to our like Western modern standards, but there is like a really like fine science to when the women and how the women process the oil. Like, it's not just like, it's not like a manufacturing facility that's on all the time. Can you talk about like the salt, the moon cycle, like all of that for a minute? Because I think now in science, we're at a stage where we're starting to really understand these factors and how they affect nature. Can you talk about that ritual?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's all dependent on nature. They don't use things there to measure the humidity, to measure, the heat. It's all nature. And how do they know that Rahwa's ready? Because the toucan bird starts nibbling at the seed in the tree. So they know, like, okay, it's tasty. So like, that's how they know that they'll gather the tree. And so, I was able to go, and go with a family. So they trek pretty far to get there. And the men will climb the trees with their bare hands, and they'll use a machete, which is like their main tool. Like, everyone has a machete, and they kind of knock the seeds down from the tree, and then they gather them, and then they'll take them back, trek back a few hours to their hut, and it's usually a certain distance from the river. They're calculating humidity, and they know what needs to happen. It is like biodynamic. They do work with the moon cycle when they're going to prepare the Rahua, and it's a long cooking process. So once the seeds are gathered and the cooking starts, that's only women take part in that part of the ritual and the rest of the ceremony. So, because when Fabian and I were there, Fabian wanted to help because it was the middle of the night. We're like, okay, what can I do? They're like, no, she can help, but you can't help. So it's very, it's part of the ceremony. So it's a very long cooking process, and eventually the Rahua seed, you're able to crush the exterior layer, and then inside there's kind of a purple like paste, like a meal that you can eat. Actually, it's very rich in omega-9, and they eat this before actually they go hunting, or if they have a big journey ahead. But from this purple kind of paste, it gets recooked in a way, and then the oil separates to the top, and then after it takes about a month, the entire process for the oil to completely separate and be ready. And then you have Rahua oil. There's a lot of different protocols that they do. They don't ingest salt before the process. They fast before they begin. And the women, they do a lot of tribal makeup, where it's part of their rituals, and has different meanings and purpose. And it's a beautiful ceremony, and an amazing potent oil is the result, with a very fine molecular weight that is able to help fill in the porosity of the hair and make the hair strong and healthy. So yeah.
What I love about that is how mindful every step in the process is, and how intentional it is. And I think when we look at products on the shelf, we don't necessarily think about that behind it. Like, we've kind of been conditioned to see, a huge metal factory and all these machines working to mass produce these products. And I usually don't talk about specific products in interviews, but I think it was really important to illustrate what goes behind this one $175 bottle. I think depending on how you use it, it could last even longer than 6 months, but it's not just an oil for your hair. You're now part of a heritage.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, obviously. And is there anything that, just kind of as a final closeout question, is there anything that, our audience can do today that will help you in your cause? I mean, obviously, other than supporting your brand, but the rainforest is such a important part of our planet. And is there anything else that you would suggest, whether it's something that you practice on a day-to-day, or something that I don't know, you're the expert. I haven't been to the Amazon yet.
Well, we're going to take you there with Rahua, because that's the idea. Actually, when you're using the product, it's an escape. So you feel like you're there. I always say you can feel like you're showering under a waterfall, because people just, they take a bath in the waterfall, and it's awesome. But what can our customers do? What can the world do? I mean, we've made it as simple as purchasing a bottle of Rahua, because now actually when you purchase a bottle of Rahua, 1 acre of rainforest is preserved annually. Because the way that we've worked, and the way that we're working with the communities now, we're helping them to obtain the title property to their land rights through legal documentation. So they now have this as a tool to continue preserving their lands for the future. So we've simplified it. So really, if you buy a bottle, you're directly supporting the rainforest. So, and also just thinking about the choices that you're making on a daily basis. And do I need all of these things, or do I need just one thing? Can I reuse that thing? Do I really need this thing? And then just changing some simple habits, because our habits influence our children, our mom and dad, our friends, our families. So by being and choosing new habits, and lessening our usage, consuming very consciously and thoughtfully, one step can absolutely change the world. So take that step, and just take that step, take one step forward.
That's awesome. That's the perfect note to end on. Where can people find you? I mean, Rahua, we're going to include all the social links as well as the website in the show notes. But any other place that you want to direct people to, that they can connect more directly with the brand?
Yeah, please visit us at rahua.com. And we, come to Rahua Beauty on Instagram, and stay tuned. We do have a big launch coming for Earth Day, and I hope everyone will tune in for that. So happy Earth Month, everybody, and stay tuned.
Thank you. Happy Earth Month, guys. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation and shedding light on this beautiful process that you've created. So thank you, Anna. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the email for all of the links where you can find Rahua. Thank you.